we'll do the notice first.
Yes.
Yeah. One notice. At its meeting of December the 18th, 2018, council will consider a bylaw to set the 2019 user fees. In addition, the town will be holding a community improvement plan open house on Wednesday, December the 5th at Heritage North from 6 to 8 p.m. Joanne?
Okay, so we're going to do the swearing in of the elected officials, and the first person we're going to ask to come to the podium is our mayor-elect, Mayor Pat Kiley.
I, Pat Kiley, having been elected or appointed to the office of mayor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payments or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear this allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereignty at this time. And I make this solemnly promise and declaration, conscientiously believing it to be true, and knowing that it is the same force and effect as if made under oath. Declared this 18th of,
Nope.
so, sorry.
Just so everybody knows that we have actually done the actual official swearing in prior to the end of the month. This is our ceremonial swearing in. So today is the 3rd of December, and we are officially here giving Pat the, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next. Next, we're going to ask Eugene Ivanov to come on up.
I, Eugene Ivanov, having been elected or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise the office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign of the time being. I make this solemn promise and declaration consciously believing it to be true, knowing that it is in the same force and effect as made under oath.
Okay, next we're going to ask Rick Owen to come forward, please.
I, Rick Owen, having been elected or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interests, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will faithfully and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for the time being. and I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously believing it to be true and knowing that it has the same force and effect as if it was made under oath. Yeah, I think so. We'll wait and see what that.
Okay, next we're also going to ask Stacy White to please come forward. Yes, faster.
I, Stacy White, having been elected or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, indirect or direct, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will faithfully and bear the true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for whatever time being. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that at the same force and effect made under oath. Thank you.
Okay, Patrick Adams, please come forward.
I, Patrick Adams, having been elected or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will faithfully and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for the time being. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is in the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Okay, and Dennis Perrier.
I, Dennis Perry, have been elected to or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and partially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. I will disclose my pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for the time being. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is the same force and effect as it was made under oath. Thank you.
Still not your business, Connie, so it's
Right, it's okay.
And Casey Owens, I invite you to come up.
I, Casey Owens, having been elected or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Kirkland Lake, do solemnly promise and declare that I would truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payments or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for the time being. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is the same force and effect as made under oath.
So ladies and gentlemen, I do present to you your elected council for the next 4-year term.
The public is invited to stay for the remainder of the council meeting if you wish. You're certainly welcome. First of all, congratulations to my fellow councillors. I look forward to working with you. We'll have a moment of silence to start out. Okay. I will make my inaugural address or Sermon on the Mountain. One of many to come. I just want to highlight some of the messages that we received at our recent training session for council members. Council sets the course, staff row the boat. There's nothing in the Municipal Act that gives any member of council any management responsibilities. You have not been elected to micromanage departments within the town of Kirkland Lake. Permit me to provide some insight and direction into the difference between governance versus management. You will find yourself tested early and often by our fellow citizens and council members. Be prepared, be respectful. Here's some food for thought. The role of governance. The very nature of governance roles helps council to make strategic approach to issues rather than focus on operational issues. By fulfilling our policy-making roles, we should be able to clearly follow our governance role. What is governance? The process of power or of governing. Governance is the decision-making process in the administration of the town of Kirkland Lake, a structure that, at least in theory, works for the benefit of everyone, a structure of relationships and processes in order to achieve the goals of council and senior staff management. We have a duty of care. It is commonly expressed as a level of competence that is expected of a council member. Duty of care is the care an ordinary prudent person would exercise in a like position under similar circumstances. This means each council owes the duty to exercise reasonable care and when he or she makes a decision as a steward of the organization. We have a duty of obedience. Requires that council members be faithful to the organization, mission, and the rules of law under the Municipal Act. We have a duty of loyalty. The duty is a standard of faithfulness a council member must give undivided allegiance when making decisions affecting the town of Kirkland Lake. This means a council member can never use information obtained as a member for personal gain, but must act in the best interest of the organization. Key responsibilities of council: exercising financial stewardship to ensure the financial integrity of the town of Kirkland Lake and making sure that the town is in compliance of law and the Municipal Act. You are not expected to be an expert in the town's bylaws, but be able to access and research bylaws for information when required. For expertise and guidance, the town clerk is your best resource, and I can verify that. Council and senior staff working relationship expectation is a cooperative, open, and respectful relationship is expected by all parties and should provide sufficient amount of information and due diligence in a timely fashion to each council and staff collectively to fulfill their duties. Senior management as well as senior management's best interpretation of reports, performance, and leading indicators. Based on staff's knowledge, expertise, and due diligence, senior management are expected to make recommendations in their reports to council that allow council to make informed decisions. Your duties as a council member in attendance, be prepared and informed when you come to council. Speak your mind in a professional, non-intimidating fashion, but ask the hard questions and get a good understanding of the topics at hand. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to the residents of Kirkland Lake and your fellow council members. Be prepared for the council meetings. It's not difficult to determine whether a council member has reviewed the agenda and understands the items that when they come to council meetings. Council members do not have individual power or authority. Neither does the mayor as head of council. He or she has one vote, as do all the councillors. My view as a mayor is that I do my utmost to provide you with as much information as possible for you to make an informed decision. The same goes for senior management. Do not be deterred from calling them for additional information. They're here to assist. Just don't tell them how to do their job. That is not our role. Do not drift into the management domain. In conclusion, our role in making policy is not policy implementation. Decision-making is not decision implementation. Oversight is not oversight of day-to-day operations. Responsibility, financial oversight is not expecting management to explain basic financial theory each time that financial statements are presented to council. Once the budget is approved, senior staff are expected to provide regular updates, and they are expected to provide a written explanation of large variances as part of the pre-reading material so that council understands and has a clear understanding of our budget and what progress the town is making. All members of council are part of the finance committee, and you are expected to attend at least 2 planning sessions during the preliminary planning sessions. The co-finance chairs should not be expected to carry the full load in the preliminary budget discussions. They need your input so that we have a better understanding of the process. After preliminary budget discussions, staff departments heads are expected to present their departmental budgets to an open council meeting. Our process is changing to be more open and transparent to the public. Mission and strategic planning oversight are not changing the course of the organization without council management and input and support. In summary, I believe we have an excellent council who are determined to implement positive change. Residents have given us a strong mandate to get the job done. Remember, municipal government tends to move at a slow pace. We have many challenges ahead of us. Be patient, take your time to make informed decision. Respect the fact that you are not always going to win your battles. However, accept the majority results. You have one vote. Together we can make a difference. Thank you, and congratulations to my fellow councillors in being elected. Approval of the agenda.
It's moved by Councillor Stacey White, seconded by, oh my goodness, I have to get to know all these signatures again. Councillor Dennis Perrier. That council approves the agenda for its regular meeting of December 4th, 2018 as presented.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay.
Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None? anybody does want to leave, doesn't want to stay for the meeting, please, good time. I guess my wife said no. No, good. Petitions and delegations? None at this point. Acceptance of minutes and recommendations.
It's moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Perrier. The council accepts the minutes of the following meetings. The regular meeting of council held November 6, 2018. The meeting to open tenders for the purchase of 4 half-ton trucks held November 13, 2018. And the meeting to open tenders for the purchase of an articulating motor grader held November 20th, 2018.
All in favor? Unanimous? Reports of municipal officers and communications. CAO, Wilf.
I'd like to introduce the 2019 draft user fees. The process would be that we present them to council for your consideration, and on December 18th, we would be passing the actual bylaw. In consideration of the agenda that you have tonight, the fact that it is your first night, I'd like to ask you if you have any general questions based on what you've seen, but recommend that we bring the discussion back on December 11th for a more in-depth one. So if you have, gives you a chance to actually digest the information. That's my recommendation to you. In terms of the user fees themselves, there's often a thought that everything must go up, 2%, 3%, whatever, but it must go up. That's not necessarily true. In instances where, well, we serve the public. If a program is priced at a point where you do have good attendance, or that the facility is being used, and it's encouraging people to come forward, it's not a hindrance, the price point should reflect that. If it looks as if, yes, you could recoup a little bit more and ease the burden on the taxpayer, our people then go forward and they change that. They bring it up. But it's not always an automatic 2% or 3% increase. If it warrants it, we will hold the prices at the same level, and in other cases, we will make suggestions to council as to the combination of offerings or even reducing prices in order to get people to use it more. So I just wanted to make that clear because it's often misinterpreted as being an automatic increase. Are there any questions for the user fees now, or would you like me to bring them back on 11th?
I think it's fair to say, Wilf, in a lot of cases, we're not in a position to collect 100% of our cost, as you mentioned, especially in the area of Parks and Rec. We continue to work in those areas, but I think after we have had a chance, each council member to have a chance to look at the fees, and if they have any questions at the next council meeting, we will bring that forward. Rick, Councillor Rick Owens, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Worship. Wilf, in the area of the Recreation Department, is the overall goal still to recoup, I think it's 60% of the actual cost, or 50% of the actual cost, or is that goal being thrown out the window?
No, there is a standard that was set by council. I'll ask Bonnie to join us on this. It's not 60%, I'm sure of that. And you have to also understand, it can be adjusted as per council's direction. And it can also vary from program to program too, if that's a point, but I'll turn it over to Bonnie.
Certainly, thank you. Yes, we were aiming for 60-40% split, and we were able to maintain that for a number of years. We have not the past 2 years. Main reason, if you look at it, we're not hitting it. We're probably 65-35 in there. Two main reasons. If you look overall, utility costs have gone up by about $100,000. Rentals have gone down on the ice surface by about $100,000. So those two are the biggest impact. So we are not hitting 60/40 anymore. It would be $200,000 more in revenue we'd have to bring in to hit that.
And I think, Bonnie, in fairness to say, across the province, every municipality or city is having the same issues. The 60% achievement level is just not happening.
Yes, our provincial organizations tell us that as well. We notice that through our KPMG cohorts, yes.
Councillor Rowan?
Through your worship to Bonnie, is it still sort of a general guidance? Like, do you still use that 60% as a general guidance when you're looking at your user fees, or is this something that
So there's two things to think of. So there's 60% recovery on overall costs that have everything, and then we want to make 60% profit on a program. So we won't offer a program such as an aquafitness class, such as a babysitting course, such as first aid. We won't offer any of those programs unless we make a 60% profit. So it helps us to recoup some of the other expenses. The only time we will is if it's a course that we absolutely need. So this summer, with the new aquatic center, we needed more lifeguards. We ran it at a straight break even. We didn't lose any money. We didn't make any money for those advanced courses. So the 60% is our guiding principle for a program. We're striving for a 40%, 60% taxpayer revenue, but we're not hitting it overall. That's including parks, that's including gas in a vehicle.
but that's still the goal?
Absolutely.
Okay.
60%, we can achieve that. I can guarantee that on a program.
Yeah,
Overall, not happening.
thank you.
Councillor Adams?
For the baseball diamond rental fees, are those competitive with what's going on with other municipalities out there, or like what's out there in Swastika? Is it competitive, or are we too high where they're not going to come and use our fields?
What we do is we compare ourselves typically with the same municipalities that the KPMG report did, and then we also try to find out any other ones that we can. So we are higher than Swastika for a rental. We're middle of the road when you compare ourselves with Cap, Iroquois Falls, Hearst, the other municipalities surrounding us.
Councillor Owen?
Through your worship to Wilf, on the airport fees, did we do any research in terms of comparing our fees with other small airport fees, or are these based on a recovery rate, or how do we arrive at what we're charging?
Last year, as the debate on the airport raged, there was quite a bit of research done. Ashley, if you would like to come up and address that.
I'm bringing Rick up with me as well because he's been managing the airport now for a little bit. User fees, especially since we had a lot of conversations last year around the, I guess the scope on where we wanted to go with the airport. We did look at the fees from other areas. What we try to do is try to stay consistent with Earlton. So you'll see with our medevac flight, we typically call them every year to see what they're doing with that. We did raise a few. I think our landing fees are a little bit higher than Earlton's for our private landings, so Kale Gold mostly, and some of the other mining.
Private charters
Yeah.
mostly. We're pretty much in line with our surrounding communities of similar size airports. We try to do comparables with all the way up to Hearst and Kapuskasing, all the way through Cochrane, Iroquois Falls, Earlton. Same type of size facilities, whether they're certified or not certified. We believe that we're pretty much in line with what the rest of them are doing in our area.
Any further comments, questions? Thank you.
So I have a resolution that's moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Perrier, that council has received the proposed 2019 draft user fees and that staff bring back for further discussion on December 11th prior to the user fee bylaw being presented on December 18th.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, you're on, Joanne.
Okay, this is a request that's come in from the KLDCS Indigenous Studies class. December 6th is the National Day of Remembrance on Action and Violence Against Women. It marks the 29th anniversary for the murders of the 14 female engineering staffs at L'École Polytech de Montreal. And it's also the day that they're commemorating the thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So the Indigenous Studies class is asking that the day be recognized by council. So I do have a resolution that is moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Perrier. The council declares December 6, 2018 as National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women in and for the town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? Unanimous. Just like to mention, Councillor White will be attending on behalf of the town of Kirkland Lake. Thank you for volunteering. Close to volunteering. Joanne, January dates of meetings, council meetings.
So our procedure bylaw for council does state out when our meetings for council are, and generally they are the first and third meeting of every month. In January, because of the holiday, we do have the meetings on the second and the fourth Tuesdays in January. Because of the way that things are working this year, we're asking to change the meetings. We'd like to have the regular council meeting on January 15th and January 29th, which is the, I think it's the 3rd and 5th Tuesdays, because that fourth Tuesday, we were able to secure the Walkerton Clean Water Center to come up and do a workshop with council. So we're strongly suggesting that council do attend that, and we're trying to rearrange our council dates to suit that. So I do have a resolution that is moved by Councillor Perrier, seconded by Councillor White. The council approves the regular meeting dates of January 2019 be changed to January 15th and January 29th.
All in favor? Unanimous. We'll now call on the Manager of Planning and Land Development, Ashley Bilodeau.
Okay, we've recently sold some land. This was previous to you, to Kale Gold. It was just small little pieces of land. Actually, if you want to just go to the schedule. So, no, next one, sorry. Yeah, so this is the land that we had sold to Kale Gold, and the purpose of selling this land was to actually give them a second access route into the number 4 shaft. So that will be their main access route to avoid having to go all the way over through Goldthorpe and around. When we did this, the piece that's actually identified, the bigger thick line traveling in a north-south direction, has hydro on it. So we notified hydro to let them know that our intent was to sell this. They came back and requested whether an easement could be placed on the property prior to us selling the land. So that's all this is reflecting. So it's just the request from hydro to register that easement prior to us selling the property. And I think if you go to the next one down, it's only affecting that large wide piece and then one in the front along Government Road. Kale Gold has no concerns with this. They were aware that this would likely come up, so pretty straightforward. Any questions?
That will come back as a bylaw. Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome. So I'm going to get Rick to come up for this one as well. Do you want to present this one? Okay.
So this report originates from a request from Team Northern Throttle for the use of our snow dump for 2 occasions this winter. First one being January 25th, 28th for a snow drag event. Second one last weekend of Winter Carnival for another snow drag event. They're also requesting at this time to use the airport Father's Day weekend 2019, which will be June 12th to June 17th. We're recommending that council does approve these events. There are revenues associated with renting out the airport. We have a special occasion fee that, daily fee that they must pay if they're there for 6 days. They gotta pay the fee for each day they're there. It's important to note, and it's for information at this time, that hosting the drag races at the airport, it does cause wear and tear on our runway surface. This will be the 21st year the drag races have been out at the airport, and it's noticeable some of the wear and tear on the runway from the burnouts, and what it's causing to the top layer of the asphalt. Engine failures such as the one last year typically will spill oil on the runway. That's corrosive to the asphalt as well. At present, there's a substantial amount of rubber that's been adhered to the runway around the starting line. They may have had to move the starting line a bit further down the track because it gets too slippery. They can no longer grab, so they have to find another spot on the pavement to grab. That rubber is almost impossible to get off. It will come off when we do plowing in the wintertime. Then we have to watch for it because that can get ingested into an airplane. If it gets ingested into an airplane, that's $500,000 minimal. The concerns are if we need to replace the runway in the future. Right now, in consulting with our engineering department, it would be a 200 by 100 foot section on top lift only. That's about $70,000 plus paint for the lines. Now, like I said, that's just for information only. We don't want to stop anybody from hosting a family event. And additionally, the airport during those times is closed. We have to note time it closed with Transport and Nav Canada. We have to send notices out to all users, all occupants, residents of the airport that have leases. We have to let them know, give them an opportunity to vacate during that time. Some of them do, some of them don't, most do. Occasionally there is some staff time involved with helping set up and then clean up. Last year was very, very good. The drag race team did a great job cleaning up the airport. So it was very little time spent from staff to go around, make sure everything from cigarette butts to beer caps is off the runway. The airport's been hosting the event the last 20 years. 2019 being the 21st year. Originally it was brought to Kirkland Lake and the airport by the town in partnership with Team Northern Thunder. The town in partnership with Team Northern Thunder operated the drag race event till around 2003-2004, at which time another user group such as Team Northern Throttle took over. They ran it for a few years, and eventually the present group that are organizing it now had taken over. They've expanded. They've expanded to add the snow drags in the wintertime in 2014. Last year in 2018, they also expanded again to have their first test and tune event at the airport during the May long weekend. That's an opportunity for potential racers to come out and test their cars, and it's similar to drag races, scaled down a lot more as far as spectators and concessions and things like that. They're requesting council's approval tonight so they can start preparations with sponsorships and different things. It's a lot of work. They got to get their contacts out there and get this thing going. There is a potential for it does boost the economy. These people come into Kirkland Lake. They come from all over. They spend money in town. They buy fuel. They buy groceries. So at this time, we're going to be requesting approval for the following 3 activities: to use the lands around the municipal soul dump on Goodfish Road just north of the railway tracks for 2 snow drag events. Number 2, to use the Kirkland Lake Airport for the 21st annual drag race event held Father's Day weekend in 2019. The drag race team are aware of the associated user fee for the airport. And they're also aware that we have agreements that we must have signed from them, and proper insurance and all those other special occasion permits and things like that. Any questions?
Blair Preston, do you want to make any comments, or? Okay. Any questions or comments from council? I will say that our past experience has been a very cooperative approach to this from both sides, both parties, and anything we've asked the group to do, Blair and his group have certainly come forward and fixed any minor issues. So it has been a good relationship, and it's a good draw for the community. There's no question about it. Okay. We have a bylaw? Or
I have a resolution that
a
is
resolution, sorry.
moved by Councillor Perrier, seconded by Councillor White. The council approves the request from Team Northern Throttle. 1, to utilize the snow dump for 2 snow drag race events, January 25th to 28th, 2019, and during the Winter Carnival. And to utilize, number 2, to utilize the airport runway for drag races from June 12th to 17th, 2019. And that staff work with the committee on agreements that will protect the municipality from any liability that may arise as a result of the races on municipal lands.
All in favor? Unanimous. We'll now deal with the sale of 13 and 15 Callback Avenue.
This is a request from Jean-Pierre and Trina Fontaine for 2 lots, 13 and 15 Callback Avenue. Just to give you a little bit of history on this, the lots on Callback and Balsam were originally part of an old plan of subdivision. And when the gold prices started to rise in about 2009, 2010, the town looked at ways to encourage new residential construction. So they actually took an old M-plan subdivision where the lots were 40 by 100 and introduced a new subdivision on top of it, which increased the size of the lot to make it more attractive for building. So there was 10 lots that were created along Callback, Balsam, Porteous, and Queen, which were sold privately between that 2009 and 2010 timeframe. The remaining lots, they actually went out to auction in the spring of 2014. During that auction, only 2 of the lots on Porteous were sold. Council at the time left the offer for new lots open for purchasers at a price tag of $10,000 per lot with a $5,000 reimbursement. That's if the construction was completed within the first year. So occupancy permit was issued within that first year. If it was done within the second year, there was a $3,000 reimbursement. This has been somewhat successful, especially in the last year, and I'm sure you could see by going down King George at this point. King George and Porteous are completely full. There's nothing left there. We only have 6 lots left, and that's in the Callback and Balsam area. So the request here is to purchase 2 of those lots with the intent of building 1 home on it. So what we've done in other, we've got a couple examples of where this has happened before. Essentially, they buy the lot for $20,000, so it's 2 lots for $20,000, and they get the $5,000 back because they built 1 house, if it's within 1 year, and then $3,000 if they build within the second year. So same thing, but they're not getting twice the reimbursement back. So this is something we looked at potentially bringing to an end, but I mean, I'm not sure whether or not that's something council wants to entertain. There's only 4 lots remaining. It is something we're going to need to look at in terms of which way we want to go and whether we do want to be offering residential home or lots available for sale in the future, because we don't have very many left from a municipal standpoint. But at this point, we'll just deal with the request to purchase. So the options for council to consider are to either purchase or sell the land, 13 and 15, to the potential purchasers, or to not proceed with that sale.
Ashley, these offers on this property was within the previous council's
Nope, this is the first time we've seen it come forward.
Oh, I thought they were brought forward earlier.
No, I think we had intended to, but we ended up, it was supposed to come to the November 6th meeting, but we decided to hold off and wait for the new council to look at it.
But we haven't rescinded that incentive offer, so I would recommend to council that we continue on this basis, especially for this particular purchase. And if there's a need to look at it further, we can do in the new year. Any comments from councillors? Or questions? That'll come back as a bylaw.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ashley. Introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws.
So the first one is moved by Councillor Perrier, seconded by Councillor White, that bylaw 18-138, being a bylaw to authorize mayor and clerk to execute an easement agreement with Hydro One Networks for land along Goldthorpe Road, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed. So this was the first item that Ashley brought your attention to.
All in favor? Unanimous?
The second item is an amendment to an agreement that we have with Northern Ontario Heritage Corporation already. It already exists. All we're doing right now is just extending the loan, changing the loan parameters. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
updating the loan
Yes.
arrangement.
It was arranged a few months ago, but NOHFC has asked that we please bring this back, and they'd like a council bylaw ratifying the changes to the loan. So it's a motion that's moved by Councillor Perrier, seconded by Councillor White, that bylaw 18-140, being a bylaw to authorize an amending agreement to bylaw 07-093, Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation Industrial Park Loan, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed.
No further discussion? Oh. Councillor Owens?
I'm not comfortable voting on this change to the loan, not knowing what the loan's
changes
for or what the changes are. I'd like to know more before I vote, please.
Certainly. In 2007, well, 2003, the town had a offer from the provincial government as a community in crisis. There was $5 million put on the table to help the town attract economic development. A portion of that was attributed towards a incubator building. There were no takers for the incubators. Roscoe came forward to restructure that portion of the package towards putting up a sawmill. That went through the process, and the what had been a grant was converted to a portion of loan and portion of grant. It was a $2.4 million project for that portion. Council went forward, signed the agreement with Roscoe. Over the past year and a half, there have been, in the interim period, the sawmill came up, started running. There were financial difficulties as a result of wood supply, plus the softwood lumber dispute. Past year and a half, council took a strict line with Roscoe and forced any outstanding debts to be cleared off. That was done. And at that point, Roscoe came forward to council and made a request that he can enter into a lease-to-own arrangement for the property. Council approved of that and instructed us to get an agreement together. There are two parts to the agreement. One is the lease-to-own itself. That would be with Roscoe. The second part is because the loan money is actually NOHFC's. We have to deal with the senior level of government to make sure they understood it, agreed with it, and then accommodated whatever changes the town arranged with Roscoe in their agreement with the town. That's what you're voting on tonight. What the province did then is they took it back to the finance committee. They said, okay, this is what the municipality proposes to do. This is the outstanding amount, roughly $470,000. This would be the monthly amount that they would be repaying on principal and interest, roughly $11,000 over a 4-year term. So it's the same loan, the same agreement, with the terms updated to reflect the arrangements that the municipal council made with Roscoe and communicated to the NOHFC. That's a bird's eye view. I don't know if that's accurate or complete enough.
Councillor Owen?
Yeah. Through the mayor to Wilf. Is this the same loan that the town had acted as a guarantor on?
It's not that the town acts as a guarantor, it's a loan to the town. And it is the municipality's responsibility to NOHFC, and the payments come from the lease of the property to Roscoe. So Roscoe pays us, we pay the NOHFC.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Would you like me to read the motion again?
Do you want to read it again, please?
It's moved by Councillor Perrier, seconded by Councillor White, that bylaw 18-140, being a bylaw to authorize an amending agreement to bylaw 07-093, Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation Industrial Park Loan, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed.
All in favor? Unanimous.
It's moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor White, that bylaw 18-141, being a bylaw to authorize mayor and clerk to execute all documents related to the sale of 13 and 15 Callback Avenue to Jean-Pierre and Trina Fontaine, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed.
All in favor? Unanimous. Any notice of motions? None declared. Confirmation bylaw.
It's moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Perrier, that bylaw 18-142, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held December 4th, 2018, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed. So what this does, this is a confirming bylaw that confirms all of the decisions that you've made during tonight's meeting.
All in favor? Unanimous. Councillors' report. Councillor Owen?
Yes, I attended the volunteer fair that was put on by the museum, and I talked to most of the representatives who had booths, and they were very pleased. Some of them got new volunteers. The ones that didn't were just pleased that they were able to raise their profile within the community. Dennis also was there. What impressed me was that the museum had a little survey for them to fill out. This was the first attempt at this volunteer fair, and so now the people at the museum can take the feedback from the participants and plan the next one and take their suggestions into consideration. And I thought it was a great event. We rely so heavily on volunteers. The other thing that I wanted to report is last month I attended the Northern Prospectors Association's monthly meeting. This is something that I plan to continue to do as often as I can. I was welcomed with open arms. As we all know, Kirkland Lake was built on mining. Mining's still the major driver in our economy, and without prospecting there is no mines. For the last at least 20 years, prospecting's been under attack from a number of different organizations, groups, governments, and so I think it's important that council have a relationship with the prospectors. I'm not going in an official capacity, but I will be able to bring back their concerns if they wish. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else to report? I agree with Councillor Owen. The volunteer recruitment event was quite successful. I wasn't there, but I got the full report from my wife, who was, and they were successful in getting new volunteers out, and I think it was just bringing the awareness in the community that the needs of volunteers. At some point, it would be nice to see a central registry for volunteers. I think that came up during some of the discussions, so that's something to consider in the future. I'd just like to comment, all the councillors attended training sessions over the past four weeks, and orientation meetings with the different departments in the town of Kirkland Lake, and it was a good event to attend. I think we got a better awareness of what each department's all about, and we didn't do that in the past council, and I thought it was very successful for new councillors especially. Nothing else to report? The additional information, is that in the package here?
Yes, it is, and I just put it on there, although they are
Just
selling
r-
the tickets. It was just an information that the 100th anniversary kickoff is on December 31st, and 2019 is Kirkland Lake's 100th year.
Thank you.
So I have a motion that is moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Perrier, that council adjourns its regular meeting of December 4th, 2018 to an in-camera meeting to discuss, pursuant to section 238 or 239(2) of the Municipal Act, B, 2 personal matters about identifiable individuals, and 3, on E, 3 matters of litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunal affecting the municipality.
Adjourned?
You wanna
A vote, sorry, all in favor to adjourn? Unanimous? That concludes the open portion of council meeting.
Could everybody, Rick is asking, or sorry, not Rick. Brad is asking, could all council come to the front? He'd like to take a picture, your inaugural picture.
What is it, Ryan what? Ryan mine.